for my dreams to turn into something I could believe in, and looking for that magic rainbow on the horizon. I couldn't see it until I let go, gave in to love, and watched all the bitterness burn. Now I'm coming alive, body and soul, feeling my world start to turn. And I'll taste every moment and live it out loud. I know this is the time, this is the time to be more than a name or a face in the crowd. I know this is the time, this is the time of my life, time of my life. Holding on to things that vanished into the air, left me in pieces, but now I'm rising from the ashes, finding my wings. Know that I needed was there all along, within my reach, as close as the beat of my heart. And I'll taste every moment and live it out loud. I know this is the time, this is the time to be more than a name or a face in the crowd. I know this is.
Good evening. We will be starting with the prayer. Heavenly Father, we come to you today with thanksgiving. We thank you for this day that you have blessed us to see. This day, a beautiful day, is an answer to hopes and dreams, an answer to much hard work, and an answer to many, many prayers. We thank you for each graduate here today and our accomplishments. We are your choice blessing. We thank you for our instructors, our tutors, and all of the clerical and technical staff, the unsung heroes who have worked so diligently behind the scenes to help make this day possible. Bless our instructors, our spouses, our family and friends who have challenged us to do our very best and encouraged us to keep going, even when our own confidence began to fail and our goal post seemed so far away. Now, this is the hour of commencement. We pray that you will bless us with your presence and the assurance of good things yet to come. Help us to stay true to our dream and to use our gifts wisely and walk into the future with faith, hope, and great love. Help us to use our knowledge that we have learned ethically and unselfishly. Help us to use our gifts and skills for the benefit of many. And may everything we do it with thoughtfulness, love, sincerity, compassion, and integrity. As we honor you and this institution of learning that has helped us to become the people that we are. These and other blessings we ask. Amen.
You may be seated. Good afternoon, and welcome to the pinning ceremony for the December 2017 graduates. I'd like to take a moment and introduce some individuals that are seated right now behind me, so that you know who they are. Some of you have heard their names, maybe some more frequently than others, but you might want to put a face to a name. So first I would like to introduce Lisa Davies. Please stand. Lisa is the coordinator of what we call here at Hutchinson Community College the Bridge Program Option, and she coordinates that. Along with Lisa is Allison Casebolt. She is the clinical coordinator for our Bridge program. These two ladies are full-time for this program that our graduates have gone through this past year. Thank you, ladies. Also on stage is Gay Stack. She actually teaches in the traditional program, but did some clinicals for the students this summer and helped out with peds and the mother-baby clinical. Seated with her as well is Stacy Lewis. She also worked part-time as a clinical instructor. She works full-time for our traditional program. Vicki Sams, she worked part-time for doing clinicals with the Bridge program, helped in simulations, and she works full-time for what we fondly call our traditional program. You may be seated. Two other ladies that are seated on the stage. One is Carol List. She is our lab coordinator and simulation expert. She helps with simulation, obviously, and in the labs when they're doing skills checkoffs, and has worked with the students on the stage as well. And last but not least of the ladies on the stage is Nita Grandstaff. She is our administrative assistant. She keeps us in order. She is very much encouragement for the students as they're going through the program. The only gentleman seated on the stage is not a faculty member at Hutchinson Community College, at least not formally. He graduated from our program, Christopher Gers. Please stand. He graduated from our program in 2008, and since that time he has been an encourager for our program. He has brought many individuals to our program. He helps in the clinical area doing what we call preceptorship, which means a formal faculty member does not have to be with the student and they can stay in the Florida area. He is from Tallahassee, Florida. And so we honor him every pinning ceremony because he has just been that person out there who has championed our program for us. Thank you. So on behalf of myself, the faculty and staff, we welcome you to our pinning ceremony. You are our honored guest. For those of you who might be joining us through the live streaming, you honor us with your presence as well. We're sorry we cannot see you, but we hope that you are able to hear and see what is happening on the stage for these individuals as well as the other individuals who graduated from this program. Thank you.
Welcome, and thanks to everybody who could come today to celebrate this wonderful day with us. My name is Terry Gaywith, and I would like to share a little bit of information about our year. On January 9th, 40 LPNs and paramedics started the online Bridge program. 36 of us successfully completed it. We had students from Virginia, South Carolina, Florida, Mississippi, Arizona, Oklahoma, California, Washington State, Colorado, Nebraska, and Kansas. The first thing I'd like to tell you about is simulation. Simulation is a scenario in a controlled environment where we could learn and build our skills in regard to patient care. These patients can have anything from a chest tube, they could be in labor, be receiving blood transfusions, leg fractures, etc. Carol is very inventive and makes this educational opportunity very interesting. Caitlin learned that raspberry jam and poop-scented spray equals a GI bleed. Lana said that just when you thought your patient couldn't get any worse, Carol proved you wrong. We would spend many hours in clinical at various hospital sites. We would meet our instructor by 6:30. Sometimes students would be a little later than that. And we would be assigned to a unit and a resource nurse where we would spend our day learning skills, assisting on the unit. During clinical, Tamario learned what patience truly is when she had a 5-year-old who hadn't gone number 2 for several days and had to have an enema. And she learned that you didn't need to hurry up and put your gloves on because it was going to take a while. There isn't any reason just to be putting your gowns and gloves on. Just go ahead and relax. Chad learned that during a code blue, you need to be aware that you have a student nurse uniform on and not a paramedic uniform on, because it doesn't always match up what your skills are, and you might wind up being trapped in a bathroom during that code. Murphy's Law definitely does pertain to nursing school and clinical. You could have spent 6 hours answering call lights, giving medications to all the patients on the unit, hanging IVs, helping with procedures, and the minute you sat down at the nurse's station, Allison and Mrs. Hackler shows up. During clinical, evidently Mike and Mary were having some kind of a cake eating contest, because every time I was at lunch with them, one of them had 1 or 2 pieces of cake. After we completed our time on the unit, we would meet with the instructor in a post-conference, and we would talk about our day, any experiences that we had. We learned to work on our care plans. Thank you, Gay, for helping me on that one. And just work on any assignments that we would have. And evidently some students had more interesting post-conferences than I did, because there was a peanut butter and jelly sandwich making test that you didn't have a knife. And I'm not sure what they learned, but Caitlin said her hands were really soft after they finished that clinical. Sometimes we students met after clinical to further our learning experience. Lana and I learned over dinner that safety should always come first. And according to Mike and James, it's safer to shower with the curtain open. That way a potential injury from a fall could be witnessed. One of our last clinicals was at Larnard, and we got to spend 2 days out there. And Larnard is the true meaning of stranger danger. Lana and I learned that not only do you check into your hotel and the first thing you do is check your windows, but you better make sure your exterior room door latches. Because after our first day from clinical, we came back to the hotel and found our door was open. And so we sent Rich and David in to face the unknown threat till it was safe enough to enter. We learned a former type of therapy in Larnard. It involved rocking chairs in a large room. They would put the patients in a rocking chair, and they would rock to help lessen their anxiety or their symptoms. If the patient became agitated and had to be removed, it was considered being off the rocker. We also learned from a patient there that a cure for any disease can be found on the internet. Thank God for Google. Reed taught us that if your life is being threatened by a patient in a wheelchair, all you have to do is jump on a table and it'll be game over. Rich and I learned that some songs should not be sung at a karaoke class at Larnard. The words, "coming up behind you, swear I'm gonna find you, gonna get you baby one of these nights," should not be sung by a resident in the Predators unit. And Rich learned that you never know where you're gonna be when you hear "Achy Breaky Heart" for the first time. Finally, I'd like to share something that I learned this year. Sometimes you have to drive, 107 miles to meet a friend, Lana, who only lives 15 miles from you. I also learned that nursing school is a commitment, not only for us students or our great faculty, but for our family and friends as well. On behalf of the students of this class, I would like to thank you all for your commitment. Thank you.
Today is about the December 2017 graduates of the Associate Degree Nursing Program. 36 individuals graduated, but only 13 are present today. It is my hope that several of them are joining us per the live stream. So let me ask you a question. What special day is coming in just a few weeks? 17 days to be exact. Christmas. Yeah, I'm sure even the youngest person in the audience today would have been able to identify that special day as Christmas, or at least to identify that Santa Claus is coming. Many things can identify this exciting season that we have on our calendar. Songs, decorations, gifts, the wrapping paper, snowmen, mistletoe, and of course, movies. There was a recent survey by the Christmas Light, etc. group who surveyed individuals to come up with information in regards to what was their favorite, or what is their favorite, Christmas movie. Then they took that data and they separated it out by age groups. Here's what they found. The older we are, the more classic our choices in movies. They listed the first, second, and third movies by age group. It goes like this. If you're over the age of 60, Miracle on 34th Street, followed by It's a Wonderful Life, are the number 1 and number 2 movies rated by this group. If you're 50 to 59, It's a Wonderful Life and How the Grinch Stole Christmas. If you are 40 to 49, It's a Christmas Story and A Charlie Brown Christmas. If you're 30 to 39, it's National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation and Home Alone. If you're under the age of 30, which is where they stopped, it's How the Grinch Stole Christmas and A Christmas Story. Interesting results. If you want the full survey, you can look up Christmas lights, etc., and look at 1, 2, and 3. Just like Christmas, that special season we celebrate every year, pinning is a special celebration as well. So to explain the importance of this day, to tell you a little bit about our history, I would like to draw some parallels, if you will, between our pinning ceremony and the classical movie, It's a Wonderful Life. That might tell you where my age lies. It is my favorite movie. So, number 1, there must be a goal. In our movie, the main character is George Bailey. He had a goal. He had a dream. He was going to do important things. He was going to do big things. He was going to build bridges. He was going to build skyscrapers. He was going to be successful. He was going to dust the dirt of this crummy little town off his shoes, and he was going to travel the world. That was his goal. That was his dream. He says in the movie, his favorite 3 sounds: anchor chains, plane motors, and train whistles. Now, when you think about them, if you hear those 3 sounds, you're either coming into a destination or you're getting ready to leave for a new destination. Graduates, you set a goal. Any journey begins with a goal, a desire, a dream. At some point in your licensed practical nurse or paramedic career, you made the decision that you wanted to obtain your nursing degree. I don't know how Hutchinson Community College figured into that goal or your choice of where you came. I have no idea how long it took you to make that decision, but you had a goal in mind and you took the first step to accomplish that goal. For a goal to be successful, however, there also must be desire to achieve that goal. Dennis Waitley wrote, he is a motivational speaker, he said, "Dreams are powerful reflections of your actual growth potential." Raymond Hollowell said, "Desire creates power." Debbie Hackler says, "Power achieves one's dreams." Today, your desire has fueled your dream to success. The second parallel has to do with risks or risk-taking. John F. Kennedy said, "There are costs to a program of action, but they are far less than the long-range risks and costs of comfortable inaction." One of the early scenes in the movie It's a Wonderful Life is where George and his brother Harry are at the dinner table with their father. And Harry is getting ready to go to his high school graduation. And I guess in those days, there was lots of food, and you brought dishes, and you had a ceremony, and you had really festivities that took place at your high school graduation. And Harry invites George to go to the high school graduation. George is 4 years older than Harry at this point. And he's kind of thinking, no, that's not really where I want to go in my life. But later you see in a scene that he reluctantly decides to go to the festivities. He isn't there very long, and a long-term friend by the name of Marty comes up to him and says, "George, would you dance with my kid sister Mary? Would you just dance with Mary?" You can tell from the expression on his face, he does not want to dance with Mary. In fact, what he remembers is when Mary was very little and he was working in the drugstore, he calls Mary brainless because she doesn't want to leave Bedford Falls. She wants to stay right there with her family and her friends and grow up in that town. And he calls her brainless for that. However, as he scans scans all the people that are there for the festivities, he locks eyes with Mary, and he decides that she really has grown up since those soda fountain days, and he asks her to dance. Now, what we have to know about George Bailey is he's not a risk taker. If he were a risk taker and he was 4 years older than his brother Harry, he would have already, instead of staying in Bedford Falls, he would have already left Bedford Falls and shook that dirt off of his shoes to travel the world. He walks over to Mary and he asks her to dance. And it's interesting because the dance they choose is the Charleston. He says to Mary, they start to dance, and he says to Mary, he doesn't really know how to dance. She said, "I don't do this very well either," but they both decide to take a risk and stay on the floor and dance. As soon as that decision is made, another decision is made that this is now a contest, and the trophy is there, and the couples are all dancing the Charleston, and they stay on the floor to dance. And they're dancing along, and pretty soon the floor begins to separate. The gym floor begins to separate, and underneath that floor is a swimming pool, which I understand even today the swimming pool is there and they're going to restore it. But That swimming pool is there, and they're just dancing along, and they just keep dancing. And pretty soon they're the only ones on the floor dancing. And just like the spotlight on this stage, they're in the spotlight. And they said, hey, we must be pretty good. And they're just dancing and dancing, and they just keep dancing until they get too close to the edge of where that floor has separated, and they both fall down into the swimming pool. But they just keep dancing. Well, he ends up, this risk he took, ends up being the best thing he ever did to dance with Mary, because Mary becomes his wife, and she really is the one person that champions him through both good times and bad times, and has faith in George Bailey. As a side note, if you ever watched the movie, they must have won that contest, because the same trophy that you see held up when they announce it's a contest is actually displayed in the Bailey Building and Loan office on a cabinet when George Bailey is on the phone with Mr. Potter, who, by the way, is the villain of the movie. Graduates, you too took a risk. You chose Hutchinson Community College to complete your goal. All of your travels for orientation, for labs, for skills checkoffs, for simulation, and for various clinicals. As stated before, some traveled hundreds, others thousands of miles to achieve your degree in nursing. Now, just a few minutes ago, you heard that we had students coming from the following states: California, Indiana, Colorado, Arizona, Florida, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Washington State, South Carolina, and Virginia. There is one person who really took a risk on Hutchinson Community College, because the state in which she resides does not recognize paramedic training for prior learning credit. So instead of the 405 total hours that everyone else had to do, she had to do 140 additional hours to be licensed in the state in which she wishes to practice. She took a risk at Hutchinson Community College. You all took a risk at Hutchinson Community College, but you are successful. Number 3, friendships, also mentioned a while ago. George Bailey said, we can get through this thing all right. We've got to stick together, though. We've got to have faith in each other. One of the books on this particular movie calls this movie the essence of life relationships. The whole point of the movie, the plot, centers around a lost amount of money, $8,000. Uncle Billy loses the money. He accidentally loses the money, I should say. And Uncle Billy is the uncle to George and Harry Bailey. Uncle Billy goes to deposit the money into the bank. As he is there, Mr. Potter is also there. And Mr. Potter does not like the Baileys. From the get-go of the film, you learn this. He does not like the Baileys. That particular day, Harry Bailey was being honored as a war hero by the entire town of Bedford Falls. So Mr. Potter was not a happy man. However, Uncle Billy was extremely proud. And in his anxiousness and in his wanting to goad, if you will, Mr. Potter, he goes over to talk to him and takes his newspaper and he holds it up, and the headline is Harry Bailey, honored as a war hero. And Uncle Billy is smiling, but he's got his $8,000 in his hand, and as he folds that newspaper, first time, second time, the $8,000 gets folded again the next time, and he hands that paper back to Mr. Potter. Then he goes on his way, a proud man that his nephew will be honored. He goes up to the cage to deposit his $8,000, and guess what? There's no $8,000 there. The thing about Uncle Billy is he forgets very easily, so he didn't realize what he had done. However, Mr. Potter never identifies the mistake that is made by Uncle Billy. Instead, Mr. Potter's hate is so, for lack of a better word, bad for this family that he puts out a warrant for George Bailey's arrest because he has swindled the company out of $8,000. He contacts the sheriff, he contacts the bank examiner, and they're all out there looking for George Bailey. At the end of the movie, George is humbled. He's humbled by the unique lesson that's learned through his angel, Clarence. Mr. Potter winds up with nothing. George Bailey, everything. Not because of the money, thanks to the many friends that brought it to help him out, but because of the realization that it is not money or things that lead to success, but relationships. The lives that he impacted by his words and his actions. Graduates, this journey brought you not alone. Oh, you may have taken your test, and you may have done the assignments, and you may have been in your room studying alone, but you did not make this accomplishment alone. There were friends, there were family members, there are those individuals seated behind me. Those people encouraged you, they were there for you, they helped you, but there were also your classmates. They listened to you. They listened to the good, they listened to the bad, and sometimes even the ugly. They stuck with you through the good, they stuck with you through the challenges of this program, and there are many. Together, we come to this day of success because you have met those challenges with each other. It has been written, friends in your life are like pillars on your porch. Sometimes they hold you up, sometimes they lean on you. Sometimes it's just enough to know they're standing by. Pinning in its simplest form is receiving your class pin. Yours is a circle of gold and blue. The edges are outlined in gold with words that say Hutchinson Community College Associate Degree Nursing. There is a nightingale lamp centered within with the year 2017 and a red stone. These colors, the exterior of gold, the interior of blue, the nightingale lamp, the red stone, these all symbolize this past year for you. Gold is a color of excellence. You have succeeded. Blue is a color of knowledge, confidence, determination. You have been all of those. The red, sacrifice, perseverance. You have done both of those. The nightingale lamp honors who we consider to be Florence Nightingale, the mother of modern nursing, a woman much before her time. When you see your pen, when you really look at it, I hope that you think about and see the red stone about the month of December, year 2017. I hope you also think about Christmas and movies and George Bailey, because just like George Bailey had an impact on the entire town of Bedford Falls, you are about to have an impact on the entire community in which you live from the perspective of a registered nurse. an awesome job and an awesome accomplishment. I wish for you the best in your career, and I ask you to wear your pin proudly.
Lana Anstey, Emporia, Kansas. Words cannot express how grateful I am for all of you when I needed the most help of my life. Thank you for your love, support, and patience as I walk through 2017. Nathan, you are my anchor. I noticed how unselfish you were with the generosity of your time to cover our constant chaos when I was of no help. I love you so much. Haley, for the late night medical conversations, interjecting sick humor so I could laugh instead of cry, and helping me with NCLEX question review. Mariah and Mary J, for trying so hard to roll with my schedule, and for the beautiful cards you made me on my last clinical schedule. Your excitement for me to be done is forever a memory etched in my heart. Dad, for lunch dates and always giving me great direction both verbally and with the gift of GPS. For always being in my cheering section when it comes to family and life. You are the best. Gary and Thea, thank you for helping care for the girls in times when we needed help. Michelle, Roxana, Jana, and Robin, for hearing my many moments of irrational rambling and then being able to bring me back into orbit with something encouraging biblically. You always knew what to say at the right moment. Talking with me about my mama Becky and imagining her reactions, thoughts, and wisdom on things saved me many times. Dr. Patel, for pushing me to be a better version of myself. My many other friends and family for being interested in my journey and by asking me about, with a listening ear, encouragement and help. Jimmy for being my mental clarity and gravel buddy. The instructors and staff for working so hard to make this possible for all of us here today. And LJ, be proud, I never did fall off that ledge. David Bram, Olathe, Kansas. Cassie Budke, Salina, Kansas. First and foremost, I would like to thank my husband Mike and my son Lucas. Thank you for loving and supporting me through this past year. You boys are my whole world. I would also like to give a special thank you to my parents and my in-laws for their constant encouragement and never hesitating to help babysit so I could study, work, and attend clinical. Thank you to all the other important people in my life, my siblings, friends, and coworkers. You have all made this journey a little easier with your continuous support. I am so incredibly excited to be finally fulfilling my dream of becoming an RN. John Cadwell, Colorado Springs, Colorado. James Cobb, Baldwin Park, California. Kim Cody, Halstead, Kansas. I would like to thank my friends and family for all their moral support and encouragement this past year, and for understanding when I wasn't able to do things with them because I had to study. I would also like to thank my instructors for their words of encouragement when life got all too real and my roles as student, mother, and employee clashed. Last but not least, I would like to thank my fellow students. Life would have been much more difficult this year without you. We laughed together, sometimes cried together, but we always had each other to understand what we were going through. It has been a rough year, but my life is so much better for knowing all of you. Congratulations, y'all, we made it. Kyle Drescher, Noblesville, Indiana. Taryn Esparza, Ketchy, Kansas. I'd like to thank all my family and friends for their support and encouragement during this past year. Terry Gaywith, Admire, Kansas. Gloria Bayers, who introduced me to this profession in 1981. My husband Jim for tolerating my whining and complaining during the school year, being gone for clinical, and my lack of effort in housework. My family for their support and understanding. Lana Anstey for introducing me to Heather Land and being a great roommate. Rich Young for being my date for Larned Karaoke. Gay and Stacy for giving up their time to teach all of us, Carol for her simulation scenarios, LJ and Allison for sharing their experience and knowledge. Derek Geyer, Rankin, Mississippi. Chiffon Georgie, Wichita, Kansas. I would first like to thank God for all of his blessings. To my family, I love you and I am so grateful for the love and support you have shown me throughout this journey. You have always been there with me every step of the way. I would like to thank my friends for all of their words of encouragement. They were much needed. Lastly, I would like to thank my instructors for providing me with the foundation needed to succeed in my nursing career. Lisbeth Griffin, Jefferson, Colorado. Kaylee Hamilton, Wichita, Kansas. Jody Ham, Hillsboro, Kansas. Mary Beth Hansen, Flagstaff, Arizona. Skylar Hansen, Asaria, Kansas. Caitlin Hargis, Olathe, Kansas. I'd like to thank my family for their support over the last year. They have been very understanding of times when I have been studying and avoided interacting with any human beings. I'd like to thank my coworkers for helping me fit my schedule around my clinical and assurance that my frustrations are just part of the nursing school experience. Thank you to my classmates that have shared hotel rooms, car trips, study sessions, and many dinners at Rib Crib. Thank you to LJ and Allison for being there as teachers and mentors and their laughter during the only Caitlin moments of the year. Thank you also to Gay, Stacy, Nikki, and Carol for their guidance and work in clinical and simulation. Thank you to Nita and Ms. Hackler for their patience in answering my many emails and questions. I'd like to thank the inventors of Dr. Pepper, as they have assisted me in surviving 6:30 a.m. clinical. Don't worry, I have received a job offer working nights. Lastly, I'd like to thank the inventors of Toradol for getting me through the kidney stones of the last 2 semesters. I couldn't have made it through this year without any of these people. It is a beautiful thing when a passion and career come together. Billy Herring, Tallahassee, Florida. Jamie Hill, Omaha, Nebraska. Pamela Hopp, Overland Park, Kansas. First of all, I want to thank my family. To those that live in Arizona and Minnesota, thank you for understanding that I haven't been able to travel out or up there to see everyone. Thank goodness for FaceTime. To my family here in Kansas, thank you for understanding the short and frequent visits home in between working and studying. To our instructors, Allison and LJ, thanks for taking on this ragamuffin group of students. The saying, education is the movement from darkness to light by Alan Bloom is most appropriate here. And an additional thank you, shout out to Carol, Gay, and Stacy for the help they provided. And to my fellow students, many thanks to those who had a part in helping me. I leave you with this parting thought. Working hard for something we don't care about is called stress. Working hard for something we love is called passion. Mary Kinsey, Sapulpa, Oklahoma. Robert Lamb, Tallahassee, Florida. Deborah Martineau, Adna, Washington. To Maria McBrien, Antelope, California. I would like to thank God for this incredible journey. Thank you to my mother, my children Winston, Lene, and Paul Jr., my husband Paul Sr., my BFF Joe, and my sister, cousin, friend Katrina. For all of the hands-on support with my schedule and for the love and support and encouragement. For all of my supportive family and friends, I cannot put all the names because there is an abundance of individuals that believed in me, that prayed for me, were cheerleaders, and that helped me along the way, those living and transitioned. I am thankful for my traveling friend until the end, Nia. Our second nursing degree, what's next? Congratulations to you too. I am thankful to the Hutchinson Community College staff for believing in me when I doubted myself. I am thankful for every hospital, personnel, staff member, and every patient that helped me during clinical. I am also thankful for the new relationships that were formed during this journey, lifetime relationships that will share a common bond. Liana Nelms, Wichita, Kansas. I would like to thank my mom and grandparents for all of their help and last-minute babysitting during the past few crazy years. Most importantly, I would like to give a special thanks to my husband for being so supportive, patient, and understanding during this entire journey. Caitlin Peak, Victoria, Kansas. Michael Pena, Grace Terrence, California. Caroline Perry, Darlington, South Carolina. Patricia Rapard, Topeka, Kansas. Carrie Robertson, Newton, Kansas. I would first like to thank Allison and LJ for their kindness, patience, and guidance during this year. To my mother-in-law and parents who helped babysit my daughter when I had clinicals and on days when I needed to study, thank you. And most importantly, I would like to thank my husband and daughter Zoe for always being supportive of me and believing in me. 2017 has not been an easy year, but I couldn't have made it through without your love and support. Chad Rawell, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Carrie Toland, Hutchinson, Kansas. I'd like to thank my family, my sons Zachary and Sebastian, for their families for understanding my busyness this last year. My son Benjamin and his family for taking the time to try and keep me an active part of their lives while acknowledging and respecting my limitations. My husband John for trying to be patient, and I would like to give a special thanks to my daughter Kate. She took up so much of the slack in our home this past year, and she did it without complaint. I leaned on her at times and again, and she has just been fabulous. I would also like to thank my classmates, both present and absent, for shining little lights of humor and sharing frustrations as we went along. You are a wonderful group of people, and I am proud to have known you. Thank you. Cynthia Vinson, Virginia Beach, Virginia. Rich Young, Lawrence, Kansas. I'd like to thank my kids for their amazing support and sacrifices they have made over the past year. They gave up vacations so I could finish school. I'd really like to thank my wife, Kenna, for keeping me sane throughout the past year and for motivating me when it was needed. I'd like to thank LJ, Allison, and the adjunct staff for being wonderful mentors and the many lessons learned. I'd like to thank my classmates for the many study sessions and all of the laughs. A huge caffeinated thank you to Starbucks for obvious reasons, and Airbnb for providing home away from home during clinicals. I'd like to thank the conductor of the 5:15 a.m. train through Hutch for making sure I woke up for clinicals on time. I'd also like to thank Caitlin H. for reminding me about the deadline for thank yous, and Pam for reminding her. Daniel Zimmerman, Kansas City, Kansas. I solemnly pledge myself before God and assembly.
Devote myself to the welfare of my patients, my family, and my community. So, when psych was covered, we all went around diagnosing each other with a few different diagnoses. And I know this well because one evening it was confirmed with Terry, Pam, and Caitlin in a room. But the truth of the matter is, we bonded as a class this past year. And ladies and gentlemen, there are some really great nurses coming from this class. We want to thank all of you for being helpful and supportive on this journey. And it reminded me of a scripture in Hebrews 12, 1 and 2. It talks about running the race. It says, many have run successfully before us, and many are running alongside us. Their prize will go to those who do not give up, so be determined to win. Now, in conclusion, I want to read a quote today and not a prayer from someone that we all enjoy, and that's Maya Angelou. She said, I've learned that whenever I decide something with an open heart, I usually make the right decision. I've learned that even when I have pains, I do not have to be one. I've learned that every day you should reach out and touch someone. People love a warm hug or just a friendly pat on the back. I've learned that I still have a lot to learn. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So to the class of 2017, my wish for you is that you continue to be who and how you are, to astonish a mean world with your acts of kindness. Continue to allow humor to lighten the burden of your tender heart in any circumstance or situation.
So this is my favorite part. It gives me great honor and pleasure to introduce to you the December 2017 graduates of Hutchinson Community College Associate Degree Nursing Program. I would ask that as they exit the auditorium that you stay where you are, and that you let them all exit before you leave your seats, and that you join us across the hall in the Gallery Theater for some refreshments.